What's up? What's up? What is up? It's another Friday, another opportunity to get together and record the Ball Hog Sports Talk. We weren't here last Friday. I was traveling in the byways and the highways, and unfortunately, for the first time in like maybe 3+ years, or second time, 3+ years, we did not record on a Friday, but we are back. And that means we owe you one. That means we coming with a little more fervor, a little more rough, rugged, and raw. We're going to give it to you the right way today. Today's episode is going by the title of The Plague. And we'll get into exactly why. You know what it is when it's sports business and entertainment. When it comes to the Ball Hog Sports Talk, these titles mean a lot to us, and this title does too. So stick with us. It's going to be an amazing show. I'm talking about an amazing show. A lot has happened in sports business and entertainment this week. A lot of stuff related to and outside of Kanye. We're going to talk about that. A lot of stuff outside of, but related to the quarterbacks, especially those Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers types, the ones that are more seasoned. A lot has been made about the NBA and how the season has started. The Lakers are 0-4. The Nets are 1-4. And so there's a lot to discuss. The Plague episode of the Ball Hog Sports Talk is coming to you. So make sure that you strap on your seatbelt. It is the experience known as the Ball Hog Sports Talk. And with that, let's go. Wake up, wake up, wake up, and stay woke. Because this is the Ball Hog Sports Talk with your boy, B. Brown, ESQ, a.k.a. the Ball Hog, a.k.a. the Mouth of the South. This is the place where sports, business, and entertainment collide. And we're going to give it to you rough, rugged, and raw. So come get you a spoonful, like some grits with butter and salt. You know how we do it in the South, y'all. Make sure you do not get caught in your feelings. Strap on your seatbelt and enjoy the ride. Come on, let's go, 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 go. You know what it is. It's the Ball Hog Sports Talk in the building. It's the whole crew. We back, y'all, after a 1-week hiatus. You know, everybody got a little PTO unintentionally. We got a little time off, but we back. And we starting with the Central Time Zone. You know who it is, the man, the myth, the legend himself, thou who shall be known as the Big Flow Show.
What's good, America? What's good? Got a beautiful fall day today. The leaves are turning colors. The temperature is dropping. Sports are in full effect. Playoff time in volleyball for my baby girl. Regional champs last night. Everything is good. My son made
Regional
a travel
champs.
team.
Okay, say it with your chest. Say it like you mean.
We headed to Iowa tomorrow. My son's first travel game. Everything's good. Everything's good.
Man, congratulations to the whole household, the whole Big Flow Show household. Sound like big thing going on in sports business and entertainment.
Big things are happening.
Big thing, man. Big thing. And you know who we got on the East Coast, the man who needs no introduction. We're going to give him one anyway. I'm happy to see he's not rocking anything Boston, but we know he's from Boston, and that is ETP Elsa, producer. What's up, my brother?
I'm doing good, man, but I think I got to review the terms of my contract because you said we had PTO last week, and I have not gotten paid yet. I don't know if you got my direct deposit or, you know, if – I don't know. Maybe my bank doesn't want me to do any more banking with them.
That's
I'm
how
not
it
sure.
is. Hey, you know that banks do that these days. Banks do that these days. We're going to hop into it. It's funny that you say that because we decided today's episode.
Yeezy's on, so he couldn't pay you.
We decided today's episode is going by the name The Plague. And the reason why is because I did a little research, man. And one of the nursery rhymes I used to love, I loved it, and I loved it so much I thought we should use it in this episode. It talks about, you know, ring around the rosy, pocket full of posies, ashes, ashes, we all fall down. Bear with me here, y'all. I'm in New Jersey where these leaves are beautiful right now. Late October. If you ever have a chance to travel to New Jersey, I know we get a bad rep here in New Jersey, but a very, very beautiful state, especially around this time while the leaves are falling. And I can't help but wonder as I look at these beautiful leaves that are so many different colors, the reds, the yellows, the greens, the really, really vibrant reds. And I mean, they're just the browns. It's just a beautiful blend. But I'm looking at these leaves thinking that ultimately they're going to be on someone's yard. Ultimately, they're going to be in someone's pile of leaves. Ultimately, it's going to become compost, and this beauty is going to turn into something meaningless. And with that, it had me thinking about this particular nursery rhyme. And when I started doing the research on the nursery rhyme, I realized that the nursery rhyme is actually about a plague. It's about Europe and the plague. Unfortunately, they refer to as the Black Plague, and stick with me because it's going to be an interesting show. But this plague is break down the nursery rhyme, ring around the rosy. That used to be a sign, a red sign that says that people might be sick. Pocket full of posies. The doctors used to give people flowers because they thought the plague was contracted or disease was contracted because of bad smells. The posies, flowers, would help sort of combat the smell. Ashes, ashes, we all fall down. And basically, because it's a plague, it was this sort of foreshadowing that a lot of people would die. Today's episode, we're going to start with some topics that feel as though it was sort of plague-driven. The plague in our initial topic is really Kanye himself, because everything around Kanye, everything that has been connected to him in sports, business, and entertainment over the last several weeks, whether it be Nori and the Drink Champs, I mean, they took a lot of heat for doing what in the podcast world people do. They create a platform for a conversation that then allows someone, in this case Kanye, to tell their story. But it seems as though that plague, Kanye, everything around him, ashes, ashes, we all fall down. Guys, I start with you. Let's start with, when it comes to Kanye, there's subcategories. Let's start with Adidas, because that plague that has been Kanye and things that have surrounded him over the last several weeks seem to reach the tip of the iceberg, in the sense that here's Adidas. And I would even go as far as to say Kanye, through his Yeezy line, through those sneakers, through the fandom, through the attraction to those sneakers, almost resuscitated Adidas as a business, as a brand. You don't believe me? Believe the numbers. Yeezys, that shoe, made up roughly between 8 and 10% of all total revenue generated by Adidas. And yet, this week, Adidas said no more. What do you guys think, man? In the tune of $1.7 billion in this fiscal year alone, it's estimated that by parting ways with that partnership, it's going to cost, and not selling the shoe anymore, it's going to cost Adidas around $250 million in one fiscal year. These are big numbers. And here on the Ball Hog Sports Talk, with sports, business, entertainment collide, let's talk about it, because Yeezy has been the plague when it comes to some of these conversations. And now we've got the backlash, the reaction, the implications of his decisions. And here we are with Adidas making what I think is just an amazingly large call to part ways with Ye in this partnership. You are our brand specialist, if you will, ETP. I'll start with you, man.
Hold on. I prepared a statement.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I would like to disassociate myself with hate speech, anti-Semitism, racism in any form, oppression, bald-headed women. Look, I just wanted to make sure I just let y'all know I'm not riding with Kanye, man. I got bills to pay. I need my bank accounts. I want to wear shoes on my feet. Okay, what were you gonna say, ETB?
All right. You're right. Thank you for that. I forgot to make that disclaimer. We are no longer taking money from Donda Sports, which never came. ETP, what say you, my brother?
I would like to co-sign that statement and just
gotta go on record, man.
I just need to indemnify myself from all backlash. Well, the thing it's crazy, right? Because what we got with Kanye and Adidas, like outside of all the business stuff, right? Like the crazy thing about it is he's always been a spectacle, right? Like we've always known him to just fly off the handle, say whatever he wants, like just have no protocols in terms of his communication. And the craziest part of all of this, like regardless of your political views, regardless of your social views, the fact that he sat in a meeting with Adidas executives and started playing porn on his phone and comparing it to the way they were treating him. And then the fact, like, that's the type of stuff they had to probably deal with for the past 5 years. And they're like, it's cool, man. We get this money. It's all good. So I'm not really surprised. I'm surprised that it can, like, that people are willing to be communicated to in ways that I'm sure he has. Because, like, he's been on all of these different talk shows about, like, just, I have more money, so why should I listen to them? You have your job over here. Like, just the condescension and just the the lack of decorum that he approaches, or at least that we've seen. I could just only imagine what those meetings have been like for the past 5 years that they put up with for tons of money. Like, the money was so paramount that they were willing to just be totally degraded. But that being said, it's crazy to make a decision. Like, they got in bed with him, they let it ride out, and then at this point, when the whole business is flagging, like, Adidas is down. I think they're down like 60% over the past year, not just because of the issue with Kanye. Like, they're changing over CEO. They're replacing the CEO. They had the issue with basically paying amateur athletes. Louisville basketball. There was a whole lawsuit around that for Adidas over the past few years around college basketball, where they were basically illegally paying amateur athletes or kids to wear their shoes down to the AAU level. So it's no surprise, but it's interesting that this would be the point where they pull the brakes when the business is so compromised and their share price is down so heavily.
Do we think that this helps? Because so over the last year, we've seen that on this episode, right, the plague and the nursery rhyme ends with "we all fall down." So some of it is watching the stock fall down. It's cyclical in nature, in the sense that, especially when it comes to these shoe companies, seems like they have their, other than Nike, they've been the one that had staying power. They have their run. Trends and styles change and they bounce back. In a weird sort of way, does this decision make Adidas more of an attractive brand to buy a shoe, more of an attractive stock to invest in? And I don't want to look at over the last several days because I don't want to be influenced by recency bias, but do we think that ultimately this helps Adidas part ways with the plague? In this case, the plague being the artist formerly known as Kanye, the one who goes by Ye now. What do you think on that Big Flow show? Do they ultimately benefit from this decision?
That's not how it works. So the cancel culture only works one way. So they're going to cancel him out. And
it's not a two-way street. You're telling me the cancel culture does not have a return trip?
There's no return on your investment. Like, they had to cut him so that their business ties are bad, but still, no one is going to run out and buy shoes now because they said, thank you for doing what everybody else did, what you had to do.
And they were late in the game. If there was anyone who left this plague-rich area late, it was Adidas. There's a lot of people that got off the island
they got the ring around the rosies, whatever they call it. They had to show signs of distress. Somebody called him and said, look, man, what's up? And he's like, man, that's about 250 M's. They're like, so what? All right, so somebody bigger and scarier than we know called them and told them they had to drop it. But no, there's no one is going to get. This is all damage control, risk avoidance. But there's no one is going to run out and buy Adidas shoes now because they think that Adidas did the right thing. That's not how the world works. That's not how this country works. They just had to do it. And they did it, and they're just.
We kind of do that in coaching, right? Like, I'm not going to give you a gold star for doing what I asked you to do. I hate when kids make a big production out of a first down catch. Man, it's a catch. You play wide receiver. You did what you were supposed to do. So I guess that's true. But I do think that in this case of the plague being Kanye, has been such a polarizing figure and has sparked so many different conversations that I don't know. I think Kanye being such a polarizing figure could result in Adidas benefiting from this. But in terms of overall share of the brand itself. The only possible person to compare this to, the only possible shoe to compare this to is Nike and Jordan. And from a comparison standpoint, right, the Yeezys are about $1.7 billion in revenue. The Jordans are about $4.7 billion in revenue. The Jordans are about 13% of the total revenue of Nike. Whereas we said Adidas, the Yeezys are about between 8 and 10% of the total revenue. And in this case, you just think of one individual, one style having that much impact on such a huge brand like Nike. I didn't know Jordan was that big. I mean, that's huge. 13% of overall Nike. And then Yeezy to be able to get to that level of prominence in such a short amount of time is just amazing that within 2 weeks, he's become the plague, despite all the other things that you have said that he has done in the past. Ellis, despite the antics of being in a boardroom, corporate boardroom, watching porn, despite saying that slavery was a choice, despite, I mean, you can name it, despite what was at a minimum borderline, if not absolutely, cases of domestic violence, if not physically, psychologically, when it came to Kim, the Kardashians, and whoever else. Despite all of that, this is the week that we are calling him the plague. And so I just think the level of attention put on to, and maybe it's the straw that broke the camel's back, but it seems as though then there are a lot of heavy straws before this one.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy that he's just, I mean, that's the thing. There's been no backlash for his consequences historically. And he's just been able to, it's like he's like safe. He's perceived to be safe, but he's been pushing the envelope so much. And then all of a sudden, this one thing happens and all the presses stop. All the plugs get pulled. Like there was no progression, right? It wasn't like, all right, man, like we're going to have to scale back this relationship. But the past month has been, everybody just jumped on.
Same thing with the
Texas A&M puts out a statement and says, we're no longer going to play his song when we come out onto the field. Like everybody has to put out a statement.
JP Morgan said, come get your bread. We no longer want to give you interest-free checking. Get up out of here.
This is cancellation on a level we've never seen. This is not like, oh, we're not going to put your show on Netflix or we're not going to book you for a show. This is your entire business operation will halt and cease to exist unless you can figure out how to do business without any of us, which is everyone. So
let's think about that. The concept of the plague, that's why we call it the plague. Kanye, with just this very loose analogy, because I do think Kanye needs help. I think I've seen someone talk about, what's up, Big West said, let's get Kanye the mental help that he needs. And I do agree that there's been signs of it forever, but those signs have not warranted a complete excommunication before this moment. And so what I've seen in the last 2 weeks in this particular case is that not only is Kanye persona non grata, don't touch it, but now anyone associated with Kanye. So, Aaron Donald in the world of sports, Aaron Donald, who is, I don't think you could even argue, probably the best defensive tackle ever played the game. I'm willing to say that while he's still playing. All right, cool. If you disagree, he's 1A. He's in everyone's conversation, the final conversation, who's the best defensive tackle in the game. He's in the conversation.
In the game, yeah.
He's top 3.
Top 3. Fair.
Where he lands in the 3 is subjective, but I wouldn't automatically give him the crown. You can't. Reggie White, Lawrence Taylor, like
they were versatile enough to move outside. Aaron Donald's not. I'll give you that much. Aaron Donald ain't playing no 5 technique. But I will say this: Aaron Donald, with his Super Bowl ring, with his amazing personality, with his prowess on the field, Aaron Donald was also put on the hot seat this week and said, hey, what you going to do? You got to choose. Because a plague, right? Like, no, we gotta leave those afflicted with the plague on the island, we all got to leave at the risk of spreading it. Aaron Donald, Jaylen Brown, Donda Sports put people in a position where they had to choose. And look, I'm going to be frank with you. We had to choose today in terms of topics. I had to make a decision, executive decision, if you will, that we're going to, certain topics we're not even going to talk about because there is no real opportunity to have a conversation. And Jaylen Brown and Aaron Donald, I think, found out very clearly that to hell with your nuanced conversation about separating the agency from the person, you got to make a decision. And so is it right sort of to put people in that position? Because both Aaron Donald and Jaylen Brown, and even more impactful is the Donda Academy now. It's rumored that they have to shut down. There are not one, not two, but three top players on that team. When I say top players, I mean top basketball recruits on that team. Well, those kids, young men, are no longer, if they don't have a school, they're no longer in school, so they got to find another place to play. But in addition to that, you know, they have now, Donda Academy has the invitation to play in some of these basketball showcases has been rescinded. At least 3 of the showcases have rescinded the opportunity for Donda Sports to play in their showcase. And so it leaves us in a spot where, because he has been so polarizing, we are now seeing the ripple effect of it. And that's why I felt like the first conversation on this episode of The Plague had to be Kanye. I do hate that there are going to be students that have to find other schools to go to in a short amount of time. There was another rumor that says that the parents have gotten an email said they can come back to school on Thursday. But it's the ripple effect of the plague. I'll give you guys last word on it when it comes to just sort of the academy. All right. One of the players is a Kentucky commit. The basketball showcases, the people that are impacted by it. Should there be limits on how far we let the plague spread? Because Jaylen Brown didn't say nothing. Aaron Donald didn't say nothing. The 3 top recruits that go to Donda Academy, they didn't say anything that was anti-Semitic. But yet they are being negatively impacted by it. Where does this all stop? Where do we find this plague finally getting a cure and we move on so people can heal? And when I say people, not Kanye. Kanye is a separate topic. I mean all the other people impacted by what Kanye has said.
I do think it's crazy when you think like Aaron Donald. I didn't even know that he was working with Donda Sports. I didn't even know that was even something. But he had to come forward and be like, oh, by the way, I mean, he's got a guaranteed contract. He's got all these different things going. But he still had to come out and say, someone told him, hey, you got to put this out. We got to separate yourselves. You got to do whatever you got to go do. I mean, I don't pay attention to Kanye. So, like, as even this morning, I was like, well, what did he exactly say? Because I don't listen to this goofy guy, right? He's been trying to get himself canceled since he got on the TV and said, after the hurricane in New Orleans, and said George Bush hates black people. Now, you know, he's wearing White Lives Matter shirts. He's doing whatever he can possibly, you know, MAGA hats, anything. He's trying to get canceled and could not get canceled. Like everything was going great. And then he hit that wrong button and it's done. Like, boom, explode. And I think just amazing the ways you can be canceled. Like I keep getting stuck on the fact that JP Morgan said, come get your money. Like
Crazy.
Like no one even knows he banked with JP Morgan. It's not like they were associated with him. You know what I mean? Like, isn't there some HIPAA law or something? You're not supposed to tell people I bank with you, right?
Well, that was publicly disclosed by Candace Owens in support of Ye or Kanye West and putting it out into the public. JP Morgan didn't publicly disclose that. They sent them a private letter or private notification to say you have until November 11th or whatever to remove your funds.
It's like your banking is like private. So like for JP Morgan to feel like I want you to get your $150 million out of my bank that no one knows is here. it's not like anybody would have found out and got mad at JP Morgan for knowing he bakes. It's not like he's a terrorist.
Right. It wasn't a marketing decision.
It was, yeah, they want you out of here. And they had no reason to, you know what I'm saying? Like there's nothing in it for them. Candace Owens went out there. I'm surprised she's cutting for him because she's on thin ice anyway. I mean, so she's gonna get herself. I don't know, but you know what though? There's only one person who's got the vaccine for the plague. That's AB. He came out and said, "I'm still with you. I'm still the president. I'm still this president, CEO." Which probably of everything shocked me the most out of this whole scandal. Is that AB was the president of Donda Sports. I said, "What the?"
Imagine that board meeting. I guess, look, man, this is the same guy who said slavery was a choice. It's the same guy who recently wore a shirt that said white lives matter. And those are just two prominent examples of the extreme nature of this person and their communication with the public. But it's just interesting to see what was the straw that broke the camel's back. And so much so that I'm not gonna. And the question was, what did Kanye say that was anti-Semitic? I am quick to say again.
Google it. Let's pass.
Google it. Yeah, go ahead and Google it. I'm the one that's quick to say to my white friends, like there's certain things about conversations related to black folk you're just not gonna understand. So I'll be the first one to say I don't understand it enough to know exactly what triggered all of this. And I won't pretend to. But I also won't have a conversation about what was said. Because the backlash scares the hell out of me. Yeah. That was, $150 million, get it out my bank.
I ain't scared of them coming for my $150 million. I don't have it. No, I said I don't have
15 minutes to get your $37.50 out of the bank, or we're going to turn it into a fee.
Like, how fast can y'all roll those pennies?
Even with $37.15, the bank is going to keep your money because that's just what it is, right? To have those funds on hand is how the bank gets more money. So to take $150 million of that, right, away means the bank became a lot less wealthy. For Adidas to say for $250 million in fiscal year 2022, we just gonna go ahead and we're good. It's a very explosive topic. What exactly was said? I know he said something about going DEFCON 3 on Jewish people. I know he then backed it up. He also said something on Drink Champs about, he's jealous of Jewish people. He wants black people to be more like. I don't know exactly what was the biggest lightning rod. Because Kanye has unfortunately been the source of a lot of lightning rods, and he is now the plague. It is interesting to see the ripple effects of the plague. I'm more interested in that because Kanye going from, he went from they're saying estimated value, estimated net worth $2 billion. In the last 2 weeks, he went from an estimated net worth of $2 billion down to $400 million. He went from a billionaire to a millionaire. And while I don't necessarily know the problems,
his money's under his mattress now. If you need some bread,
but at $400 million in net worth, he's still okay. He's still fine. So I'm just worried about all the other people, the ripple effect of people impacted by this. Because Kanye, whether you love him, hate him, or somewhere in between, where you think he's a genius or an absolute fool, Kanye is going to be all right. I'm more worried about the ripple effect. And so that's why I said we had to start here. It's the elephant in the room. Anybody want final word on it before we move on, man? Because I did want to get into some other topics, but I thought this would be a good place to start. It's a lightning rod topic that most podcasters are going to stay away from. It's a lightning rod topic that most employees during lunch, they're going to stay away from it now.
Yeah.
It's a lightning rod topic that has some historical significance that most people who want to protect themselves in the public space or on their job, they're going to stay away from a dynamic conversation and maybe even a debate on this. And you ask why? Because Kanye has proven as the plague that this is a conversation you don't discuss. This is a topic you don't discuss.
Yeah.
And with that, I give you guys the final word.
Yeah. So I think the main thing that takeaway that Kanye has always kind of, the lesson has always been, it's not what you say, it's how you say it. Because like we can go through all the examples of historically what he's ever said publicly that's been, provocative or inflammatory or offensive. And I try to unpack something from anything that he says. And I think that there's conversations warranted in everything that he's ever said publicly. But I think the way he says it and the lack of articulation in the way that he says it and the emotion behind it, it goes down the wrong path. And the people that are meant to hear it don't necessarily hear it the right way. I'm not saying that he's saying the most insightful things. I'm not saying that he doesn't deserve whatever he's getting or that he does deserve it. All I know that he's not stupid and he has some important points, but the way that he delivers them obviously creates a lot of turmoil. And if he was a little bit less emotional about how and like spontaneous in the way that he says things, like I don't think any of this was planned. It was just, I'm just going to say something and now I'm doubling down because you can't tell me what to say and what not to say. And that's what got him into the trouble that he got into. But I think all of this warrants discussion. But the problem is we're not in a space where we can actually have an open, honest discussion about the issues that are being raised, and people kind of have their positions about it. And it's unfortunate. And the consequences are huge, not just on him, but like you said, the whole ecosystem and the network of people that are surviving and thriving and economically supported by his business ventures. And it sucks.
And it wasn't original content. I mean, there were several bars in rap that talked about how most of the entertainment attorneys in music industry were Jewish attorneys. There was a bar about it. This wasn't creative in how he, I said the word Jewish. But it's not as though it was innovative. It's the same thing has been said about the sports world. If you look at some of the top agents, from a representation standpoint, this has been something that has been talked about ad nauseum. By making a statement or observation, that part of it wasn't anything innovative. His inability, like you said, I think, Ellis, his inability to think a little more in depth about the impact that the statement would have, his inability to disconnect emotion from the statement itself, his inability to follow up and say, hey, here's where things could be a little more fair, right? Diversity and inclusion, the entire space is about trying to make things more fair. And if, and I can only say if, because he didn't say it, so I don't know what the hell he was trying to say. If that's what he was trying to say, it got lost. It got completely lost. And instead, he's the plague. Big Flow Show, I'll give you last word. I can see you get more and more uncomfortable and by the second.
Well,
anything else you want to talk about before we move on, bro?
The heat is hot in here. No, I just, it's interesting to me, like, when you start seeing the responses, you saw the people over the bridges, the what I could assume to be Klansmen and the over the bridges saying that
neo-Nazi, fascist, bad
saying
humans.
that he was right.
Bad
and
humans,
then,
absolutely.
That is like, oh man. So you got their support now. So what bucket are you in now? I wonder what the free speechers will do. All the people saying you should be able to say what you want to say. If they're going to touch it or they're going to come up. But I mean, again, Kanye's fine. If you go from 2 billion to 400 million, you still don't fly coach, right? So he's going to be fine. He's going to figure something out and he'll find some way to flip it and something. The culture, he found out the cancel culture is from like the business standpoint, but he's not going to get socially canceled. People who wanted to buy his shoes and did that stuff like that are not the people who really are in support and care. It's it's the business end of it. So if he finds somebody who wants to do business with him and does something there, which I'm sure there will be somebody, there's always somebody, he's going to reinvent himself and he's going to figure out something else. Every group has been trying to ignore Kanye and just kind of write him off for some of the antics he's been saying. He's just kind of been a nuisance in a lot of ways. And you miss, the genius portions of his brain that are talented. You miss those because of all the antics or whatever. And how he just one-on-one where people couldn't ignore it anymore. And he hit a business nerve that probably is a bigger nerve than he thought it could possibly be. I'm sure he didn't know it would be this level, but he'll play it off and he'll figure something out. But next week we won't be talking about it. We'll be on to something else.
Maybe, but it survived a little longer than most controversial Kanye statements. And I think that the magnitude of it and the reach of it, and whether it be the neo-Nazis and just bad skinheads or bad humans putting signs up on a freeway, I just think that people have taken what they wanted out of the story and done what they wanted with the story. But I was more concerned with, and that's why we addressed it, is all the others, the ripple effect. So let's hop into another topic, man. Similar but very different, because there's another central figure that has been a lightning rod. There's another central figure that has been controversial, and I would even say polarizing in ways. Another central figure that we've discussed on this show in different ways, but it seems as though everything that comes out of his mouth is analyzed and critiqued and applied to different groups. And that person is none other than Coach Prime. Jackson State is going to be home to College Game Day. And a historical move. Like, this is next level. College Game Day and the ESPN crew, Kirk and the guys. I don't like the other dude, little short dude, one from Michigan. I don't like him. But he's on College Game Day. Coach Prime and Jackson State and that marching band is home to College Game Day. And the plague here for me that we got to discuss when it comes to this particular topic, the plague is jealousy. And I don't think we can get through the Deion, Coach Prime conversation without addressing that plague. That we talked about at Alabama State, Eddie Robinson Jr. or Eddie Robinson the third, whatever, the younger Eddie Robinson. And I said jealousy had to play a role in how people are accepting or not Coach Prime. But here it comes. Coach Prime's impact on the HBCU space is undeniable. The fact that there are a lot more games on television, the fact that you have celebrities lined up trying to get into a Jackson State game, the fact that Jackson State is being scheduled for an Alabama State homecoming for no other reason. I ain't gonna say no other reason, but probably largely because of the money, attention, and fanfare that Jackson State demands. All of those things, I think, add up to there's also a level of jealousy when it comes to Deion. That particular plague, jealousy, and we all fall down when jealousy is at the core of things, but I think Deion has found the medicine to overcome it. Somehow, some way, he keeps chugging along. Somehow, some way, he keeps going with his social media push. The fact that his son is his social media coordinator says that Deion gets it. The fact that not one, not two, but three of his children are enrolled at Jackson State. The fact that he can take a rhetorical question, who is SWAC, and turn it into his own marketing. This dude, I think, found the cure of the jealousy plague. Shout out to Jackson State. Shout out to Coach Prime. Shout out to Southern University, who will play Jackson State this week. But I'm loving it, man. I'm loving it. HBCU is the home to College Game Day this week. What say you guys, man, when it comes to the issue of Prime, to the plague of jealousy? Where are we when it comes to Coach Prime and Jackson State? I'll start with you on this one, Big Flow Show.
I think he's doing a great job. I know you mentioned that he said he would entertain a Power 5 job, which I think it's too early. I think I'm trying to find the right words. Not to say you should never do it, but it's too early. saw someone in an interview, and I can't remember who it was saying about 4 or 5 years, maybe he could go do something like that. But I think his mission that he kind of, I guess, is claiming for himself, it's not done yet. I mean, yesterday or the Big Ten schedule came out, I think, yesterday or the day before. Northwestern's playing Howard University at home next year. Notre Dame is playing at HBCU.
We're going to talk about that too because Coach Prime talked about those money games.
We will
He
talk
said
about that.
HBCUs need to have some sort of not collective agreement, but they need to have create a market so they don't take less money. And he pointed out the Middle Tennessee State coach bragging about, we made $1.5 million off that game. They only averaged 1.6 per rush. Well, by doing that, he disclosed he got paid $1.5 million, where HBCUs are getting like $500,000, $600,000. So he pointed out Marshall getting paid whatever they got paid to play Notre Dame. And what he was saying is that, hey, when are we going to understand our own value or understand our own worth?
Because basically schools are trying to buy a win, right? They're buying a win, and it's worth that to them to get a big win. So they're paying that school to come in here to guarantee a win on their schedule to make themselves bowl eligible, and they get the money back, right? And they look at their conference and like, all right, if I get this one in here, we'll do this. So that's what they're doing. So he's saying, let's do it. But again, Prime is saying that. He's putting himself out there. All these people are listening, and now it's exposed. And we're in an exposure culture. You expose things, things change. So Prime is doing a great job of doing that. He's still Prime, but that's what makes that's what makes him successful, is because he is a provocative person. He comes out. So I think he's doing a fantastic job with that. Even the stuff with the Eddie Robinson, it just was a platform for him to talk more and get involved in stuff. He's, putting stuff out on social media, keeping it out there. He's making HBCUs more of a mainstream. People are putting HBCUs in their, I still watch sports recruiting, and they'll have Jackson State in their thing, even though they may not choose them, and maybe it looks a little Rooney Rule-ish, but like they're putting the HBCUs in their top five.
You mean the recruits are putting
Jackson State? Recruits are putting them, in their top 5. Even if they don't end up there, it's showing people there. I'm hearing about guys are transferring from places, now that it's transfer you. They're like, all right, let me go give Deion a chance to see what he's going to go do. I think Deion is smart. He said he needs another year or so before he can try to go play in Alabama because he needs to get the line right. So he's figuring out what's going on. So I would be disappointed if he took a job somewhere else, because you're telling a lot of these people that you're getting right now that they don't need to go to a PWI, that they could go to HBCU and everything will be okay. So if you leave for one, what does that really say? But at the end of the day, when this is all over.
But didn't he lay the groundwork? I'm going to throw that one to you, ETP. Didn't he lay the groundwork? Because like all of us have jobs. We have careers that, look, we went and took a job and they gave us some management position where people are reporting to us, but we had to create a mission and go deploy our team to go execute on that mission. But if another job comes in and offers you a better opportunity and you're only 2 years into your 5-year plan, you're going to do what's right for your family. And what Deion did say, and I give him credit for, Deion did say, and it'll come out probably Saturday, but Desmond Howard, the one who I don't like saying his name, but I just said it, the little dude from Michigan, when the little dude from Michigan asked him that question, whether or not he would take a job from a Power 5, his statement was, hey, well, I'll at least entertain the conversation because I got coaches on my staff. My life won't change much, meaning he's got the platform already. He's got the money. He is a Hall of Famer. He is respected when it comes to football in all circles, player, coach, web. My life won't change much, but my assistants' lives could be drastically changed by that conversation. So I'll at least entertain the conversation. So I'll throw it to you, ETP, at some point, because I think Eddie Robinson Jr. alluding to, I hope he stays. I hope he don't take a Power 5 job. Was in my humble opinion a byproduct of that pandemic, of that plague of jealousy. But the truth of the matter is if he's already laid the foundation, he's done all these things such that College Game Day is going to a HBCU, such that a Travis Hunter is going to play for a Jackson State. that they're getting primetime slots when it comes to TV, is it not wrong to prevent this man from taking advantage of opportunity? I just think that when it comes to our folk, black folk, like, don't ask me to make more of a sacrifice than anybody else has to make. At the end of the day, he's a professional. His profession is coaching. And if a better job within his career, the profession of coaching, makes itself available, I'm okay with him taking it. ETP, you break the tie. Do you think that would be premature for him to take a job? Let's say next year.
He's welcome to do whatever he wants. I don't think he should leave his son there, obviously. Like, whatever timeline that is.
That. His son.
So
that would be the first stipulation.
Yeah, so like that's not gonna happen. But I mean, look, for me, he's entitled to do whatever he wants, whether it's his endeavor to coach a Power 5 school or go to a major market, whatever it is. The fact, it's undeniable the impact that he's had on not just Jackson State football and the level of credibility that it's received and publicity, as well as all HBCUs in general. My fear is, like, he could stay for another year, he could stay for another 10 years, but he seems to be a unique character that is there going to be an installed system and infrastructure in place when he decides to move on? Because it's going to happen at some point. Like, he's not going to be here forever, but is the infrastructure going to be in place for the HBCUs to be able to actually build on the legacy that he's creating, right? Like, is it just going to fall off a cliff because he is no longer the spectacle? He's no longer the marketing genius. He's no longer the face of HBCU anymore. And there's nobody to come in and take the place and push everything forward. So the timing almost doesn't matter. How he does it almost doesn't matter. The reality is, like many situations, if you take it back, if we talk about black movements of any kind, civil rights or otherwise, when the leadership goes, is there going to be a next generation or crop of talent and infrastructure and systems in place that are going to push everything forward and build on the progress that's been made? Or is it just going to fall off a cliff and then we revert back to, oh, the HBCUs are just an inferior, the SWAC is an inferior football division to, the predominantly white institutions, while they're consolidating and creating the big 82 and the SEC that has 40 teams or whatever it is.
Yeah. Fair point. Very fair point, but I'm not certain that that's on Deion.
No, it's not. That's what I'm saying. It's not about
he doesn't
Deion.
have to carry that burden, but I just think what he's doing is so great. I just hope that he stays a couple more years,
right,
just to see it through. But he doesn't owe anybody anything if he leaves. Like like when LeBron went to Miami, he gave Cleveland great years. He didn't owe him anything else.
Yeah, when he left Miami, he owed us. I don't know where you're going.
Yeah, he's done. Deion's done an infinite amount already, right? So if he walks away, you can't deny the impact. And whatever he does is up to him.
I just think he's so close to.
But I hope he does. Yeah,
he could turn it into something that becomes where it doesn't need him anymore. I still think it needs him.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Look. Who else can fill his shoes? Who can do what he's doing at scale?
Because you never see Eddie George get interviewed. I never see Tyrone Wheatley get interviewed. You never see any of these people who've been already taken. What's the dude? January 31st. He never gets interviewed. Hugh Jackson. You never see any of these guys in front of the media ever. The only reason why Eddie Robinson Jr. got in there is because he got into it with Deion, and you still probably couldn't pick his picture out of a lineup, right? So
he's a former NFL guy. I just hope that they all take HBCU programs also take a page out of Deion's book, because Deion is his own microphone a lot of times. Him hiring his son to push the social media thing was, I think, genius. A, that he hired his own son, but B, he understood that I need Generation Z, or I don't know if his son's a millennial. This is the oldest son, but he needs that level of connectivity in the viral space to go viral. And that's smart. More programs need to do it. But if his parting shots, if his walk-off at bat is laying down a foundation and telling other HBCU programs. I see Chufu Jordan. What's up, Big Chu? Who's from Opelousas, Louisiana, understands the nature of that, says that Southern University got $760,000 to play LSU. Well, $760 is good, but $760,000 is not $1.5 million. $760,000 seems to be the top end of what some of these HBCUs are getting paid. Some are making all the way down to $400,000 for some of these games. I think Dion alluded to, I don't know if it was, I think it was Alabama A&M that played Alabama, but one of the Alabama, or it might have been Alabama State, one of the Alabama HBCUs and what they got paid to play Alabama and take that whooping. And if his parting shot is to create a floor of what HBCUs should get paid when they take these money games, even that would be, I think, monumental in what these programs are going to be doing going forward. Because if every year you take one of these games, you're getting paid half of what the market demands, or what you could be making, that's $750,000 less that you got in your athletic budget to go try to create some parity when compared to the predominantly white institutes in these major Power 5 conferences. So I hope the story continues, man. I love the story of Dion. I will be watching. I watch game day every single Saturday, but I will especially be watching game day this Saturday, and can't wait to see the band and see all of the pageantry that is an HBCU football game. So shout out to Dion. Let's hop on to another plague, man, because it seems as though there is a plague of bricklayers. I mean, there are bricks literally falling out of the sky, and it's a plague. And those bricks seem to be coming from Brooklyn and Los Angeles. The Nets and the Lakers are bad. I watched the Nets last night, and the central figures did their thing. Kyrie played Kyrie basketball. KD played KD basketball. But the challenge is when you're going to the basket and you kick out to a shooter who can't shoot, the plague of bricklayers falling out of the sky tends to impact your wins and losses. Right now, the Brooklyn Nets are 1-4. Same thing with LeBron. He's passing it to wide open people that have been completely inflicted by the plague of bricklaying. They're missing shots. If you look at the quartile of three-point shooting in the NBA, and you look at where both Brooklyn Nets and the LA Lakers are, the plague of bricklaying is really what is hurting these teams. Now, KD and Kyrie in Brooklyn, LeBron and AD in LA, they're taking the brunt of blame. But the truth of the matter is, if you ain't got shooters, you can't win in this game. What do you guys think about this plague of bricklayers that seems to be rampant in LA and Brooklyn? And can they turn it around? I'll start with you, ETP. I know it's early in the season. I call this part of the NBA season. You know what I call this? I call it affectionately. I call this part of the season football season. We shouldn't be paying attention to no basketball. But yet we are, because those teams are so bad and they were built to win right now, yet they are inflicted by this plague of bricklaying. ETP, how do they overcome it? Or is this just a sign of things to come? Is this going to be a tough season for both organizations as they figure out how to get wins?
Well, I mean, one, you're right. It's football season. I think what is it, day 3 of 27 consecutive days of college or professional football?
Yeah. Say it with your chest. For all y'all basketball people, 27 straight days. Yeah, I mean, put some respect on our name, football.
So yeah, it's football season. But I mean, so the Lakers are just a dumpster fire that gets hotter and hotter. Russell Westbrook is clearly, based on the way that is playing, like he doesn't even want to be there at this point. So you're going backwards from where we were last year. Anthony Davis is like a shell of himself. LeBron's still playing elite basketball. He has the most assists to three-pointer. You know, he has the most assists to a three-pointer in the history of the NBA. And the Lakers are shooting like the league worst 3-point percentage. They have no shooters around them. They didn't construct the team in any way that's going to be sustainable. They should ship Westbrook. I don't know why they haven't done it, but the team is there's nothing's going to happen. But the funny thing is the Brooklyn Nets, everybody's like, okay, well, Kyrie's back. KD is back. Ben Simmons is going to play. It's all just turning into another East Coast dumpster fire. So I don't have faith in either one of them, but I can't imagine out of all of this, one player that is getting paid like Ben Simmons getting paid what, $30-40 million, something crazy. And he's airballing layups. Like this is not a rec center. Like
at 6'10",
you're a professional.
I don't know why he shooting layup.
You're a professional basketball player, and Kyrie Irving is over here making excuses like, oh, he hasn't been on the court in 2 years. One, by his own choosing, and two, that's what the preseason's for. That's what the off season's for. If you're not ready to play, don't suit up.
Season? I didn't know who was playing today. My bad.
Yo, it's not pickup basketball. Like, come on, dog. You're a professional.
I haven't touched one of these things in 2 years.
Do you know how much money people are, to take a family of four to go see you perform your craft, and like you're gonna airball a layup? Like, look, at the end of the day, I don't do what they do. I don't criticize the fact that they're professionals and I can't play on that court or whatever, but don't sit here and make excuses of like, oh, I'm just a little rusty. Like, if you can't perform, don't perform. Let somebody else come in, take the space.
But the other side of that says to me, the fact that Kyrie, being the voice of reason, is its own mind-boggling statement.
Right. It's like AB saying, I support Kanye West.
I'm still the president of
Donda Sports.
But we say this, though. Big
As
Flo,
somebody who's taking PTO voluntarily over the course of 2 years.
I will say this, though. The fact that Kyrie is defending Ben Simmons and saying, hey, y'all got to give him time, says to me, and tell me if I'm right or wrong on this Big Flo show, that the dumpster fire in LA, the West Coast, is way worse than the dumpster fire on the East Coast. Because Kyrie going to bat and speaking up for Ben Simmons tells me that they might have a shot to gel and become a good team. And look, they do have what's the other Stephen?
Well, Seth Curry's injured. He hasn't even played yet.
He
got Joe Harris. I mean,
Joe Harris,
the best sharpshooters in the league.
So they got some help on the way, right?
Help is on the way.
Help is on the way.
Get Country Wayne. Where's Country Wayne when you need him?
And if you're a family member is inflicted with some plague and they're diseased, you still got to be there for them. That's all my man Kyrie is doing. He's there for the bricklayer. He's there for Ben Simmons. It says to me that family has a little more upside than the dumpster fire in LA. Tell me I'm right or wrong, Big Flo Show. Doesn't it seem like the Brooklyn Nets, if I'm betting on one of those two teams to figure it out, because first of all, you got Patrick Beverley, who is, I mean, at the heart of most toxicity is Patrick Beverley. And you put him alongside Russell Westbrook. Russell Westbrook is his own form of being toxic, and now he's upset. So he downright mad and toxic. I mean, the money that they have put into these contracts, that's why Russell Westbrook is still there, because I don't know how you're going to move him. You got to be very creative. They made a trade to get a man who does not play a lot of basketball in AD. You flip a coin if he's injured or he's healthy. To me, that looks a lot less promising than Brooklyn. What do you think, Big Flo Show? You tell me I'm right or wrong, but it seems a little more promising in Brooklyn than it does in LA.
I don't know. It was young and dysfunctional better than old and dysfunctional. I think, to be honest with you, until the playoffs start, I'm still saying Lakers in 6.
Lakers.
I'm still saying it. I still think they're gonna be all right. It just takes a while to do something.
You've been saying this for 3 years, dog. 3 years.
And you said Lakers in 6 last year when they did make it.
Come on, 2 years ago they won the championship, and now it's 3 years. Didn't they?
They got a bubble chip, man. They got no real chip.
Was it the bubble? Was it COVID everywhere, or was it just COVID for the Lakers? I like saying we won. It was raining. It rained on both sides of the ball.
It
was
did,
COVID
but
friendly.
they have everybody in a bubble and playing. You ain't got to travel, and that's kind of you got to.
Nobody had to travel. The team that the Heat didn't travel either, did they? They was in
We
the
made
boat.
it to the finals, and I call that of all of the final
Don't do
appearances.
that.
That's the one I don't like to brag about.
Don't do that because you don't even mean what you want to try to act like you're gonna disparage yours just to try to prove a point. You lying. They won a chip. All right. So all I'm saying is
They did.
Lakers in 6. That's all I'm saying. All right. They just got to. They just need some time
How'd that
to
work
get it
out for you
together.
last year? Because you told me Lakers in 6 last year, and they didn't make the
They
playoffs.
only played 5 games. That's the problem. That's the problem. It's 5-game series. That's the problem. They brought it back. Besides that, they gonna be straight. I don't know if Anthony Davis, if he didn't work out this summer, then piss on all of the Lakers. Just throw the whole team into the ocean. If he didn't work out this summer and get his body right, I haven't watched it because I agree it's football season. I don't really watch the NBA till after the Super Bowl, to be honest. I'll catch a game over Christmas here and there, but I don't really pay attention because they're still under warranty. They got to get the varnish off and all the stuff. And then once it gets later in the season, I'll look at it. But I mean,
so I will stay patient.
Until then, man,
Lakers in 6. You're telling me book it. Lakers in 6.
Yeah.
Well, Sheldon Jordan is saying that Lakers are going to get the 6th pick in the lottery, which will then be as part of a pick swap with the AD trade.
I don't trust a man that got that many names, man. Shelton Jordan, Chew Jordan, Cheeky Black. What's the other alias he comes in here? That's too many names for me.
Hey, I will say this though: that trade, that AD trade with New Orleans and Chew Jordan, my man Shelton, is the one who laid it out. If you look at all that the Pelicans have done with that transaction, and then you look back at LA and you see AD sitting there scratching his butt on the bench
with a ring.
With a ring. Fair. With a ring. So you think it's all worth it for one bubble ring?
No, but it's still got a ring on his hand. But when they win this year, it's going to be worth it.
He does that.
When they win in 6 this year, it'll be worth it.
Man, I don't see it. It's funny that Shelton does say they're going to get a lottery pick and get the number 6 pick because Victor, what's the big Frenchman name? We can say whatever his name is. The NBA has decided to stream not 1, not 2, but every last one of his games this season. Boy, the NBA action is fantastic. They smart. They figured out, boy, these fans want to see it. So that might be with the first pick of the 2023 draft, the LA Lakers pick. I would be more inclined to bet that than Lakers in 6. The next play we got to talk about is Father Time, man, because in the NFL, we're seeing that even our greats, the greatest among us, Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers. Let's start with Aaron Rodgers, because Aaron Rodgers, not only are they struggling, he calling people out. Aaron Rodgers called people out, said, look, man, if they're not making plays, you got to start cutting reps. As somebody there's 53 people on a roster, and I've said this on this platform before, I was number 53 and a half. I always had one foot out the door. And you get less opportunities to make mistakes when you're 53 and a half. As someone representing the 53 and a half club that went between practice squad and active and was holding on for a dear life for the opportunity, I don't really like that. Aaron Rodgers, don't be calling out people because you got ample opportunity to make mistakes. And if anybody need their reps cut, Aaron Rodgers hasn't played particularly well. Yes, has the receiver played bad? But that was the front office deciding that they weren't going to surround Aaron Rodgers with any talent. They've done that now forever. And I just didn't like Aaron Rodgers calling out his teammates. Some of the other veterans is like, oh, yeah, he's right. Of course they say that he's right. And Aaron Rodgers, like, anybody got a problem with it, come to my locker. Ain't nobody coming to your locker. You're protected. You are a protected class. Somebody talks about you and Wells Fargo might have them withdraw the money. Nobody can talk about you, Aaron Rodgers. So as somebody that represents that class of people that was 53 and a half, I say shut up because you've all played bad. And Father Time, the plague of Father Time seems to finally be inflicting Aaron Rodgers. Is it more about the talent around or lack thereof? Or is Aaron Rodgers finally needing to see the Aaron his ways? And maybe he's not the best ever, as though so many people have given him that title despite the fact he only got 1 ring. He's been called the best ever.
By who?
Say again?
The best ever by who?
A lot of people call Aaron Rodgers the best quarterback ever. I mean, Stephen A. Smith has been one of the most prominent people that says he's the best ever, but that's not a out of
Stephen
the
A. Smith
left
works
field
for
statement.
Donda Sports.
Well, let's not address if he's the best ever. Let's talk about where he is now. Has Father Tom finally caught up with Aaron Rodgers?
Aaron Rodgers is a good football player, but the fact that he came out and said what he said is part of the problem. I had a guy call me. He's a Texan, and he likes Green Bay. So two things that make him weird. Shout out to Texas, but he shout out to Texas, but he he said, "What's going on up there?" And I'm like, he's going on up there. I mean, if you take him, if you talk about the guy who most people say is the greatest ever, Tom Brady, and you take him, look at the differences. He's always in the media, always doing something weird about himself. Me. We really like Brett Favre, right? He's always me. I'm coming in here. He makes this big contract thing. He does the whole thing with the vaccine, makes it to a big whole thing. It's a political statement, done all the little podcasts and running his mouth, all that stuff. And he didn't even realize his best receiver was like, I'm not even feeling you like that. He signs a big contract and the best receiver leaves. Take Tom Brady. Tom Brady always playing for less, always doing what he could do. Never even still got superstars, but still play for less so that you could get his line right. You could get the defense right. You could do all these different things. And he's got longevity. He's doing whatever. Now he's down there in Tampa. Things going a little suspect down there for him. But if I had to put my money on who's going to turn it around, I'll put my money on Tom Brady because he's going to figure it out.
That division is better. That's better for him to turn around because the whole division stinks, right?
I'm just saying. I think that Tom Brady attitude towards his teammates, he'll check you on the sidelines, and then he explained himself in the media for checking guys on the sidelines and do whatever. But Aaron Rodgers talking about, man, cut these people minutes. They need to stop playing. And tell the coaches that. What you telling me that for? Why are you telling the fans that? Why are you trying to pull yourself out of the situation and go public? Aaron Rodgers is not a champion. That's just what it is.
Yeah, I just think that he seemed a little tone deaf. And and he didn't say anybody by name, but I'm certain.
Sheldon's about to get banned.
I'm certain that somebody felt some type of way that doesn't feel empowered to go say something to him. And Sheldon Jordan, I appreciate that comment because you were very nice to this division foe of Aaron Rodgers. And as Sheldon Jordan said in the comments, and it'd be a great time to tell everybody, please like, please comment, please share, please tag a friend, please tag a foe, tag anybody you know, and subscribe to our YouTube channel and our podcast.
Man, what to say?
In the live audience, Shelton Jordan says, sounds like the Bears have lost to Rodgers a lot by your very nice, delicate tiptoeing around the topic. It sounds like Aaron Rodgers is y'all daddy, and you want to pay this man respect. And so I'm just, hey, that's what one of the viewers said, so I'm repeating it. So I'll give you a chance to rebut.
2-5, and you talking to me? Appreciate your honesty. You're 2-5, and you over here on my phone. You saw what we just did yesterday to this man's team, huh? To this man's team right here. You saw what we did, huh? The Bears is back, baby. The Bears is back. All right.
No one ever.
Tampa Bay. Who was y'all's coach? Who y'all quarterback? Y'all ain't know who y'all play for. Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I mean, New Orleans Saints. What y'all doing over there?
New Orleans is what you mean? Who they quarterback? They got a combination. They got Jameis and whatever his name is.
Look. The only dude who give a better interview than Kanye is Jameis Winston. So if you want to bring him up, he'd be your spokesperson. You can't even tell if you offended anybody at the end of his commentary because you don't know what the hell he said.
W's. We gonna eat these W's. ETP. Have we seen Father Time as the plague that is finally taken over Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady? Because Tom Brady did lose last night to Lamar Jackson. I find myself holding my breath every time I watch Lamar Jackson because the brother ain't been paid yet. He out there running. Every time he escapes the pocket, I just hold my breath. Even in the pocket, I'm like, bro, they get paid before you go out there on that field. But I digress. Yet we did see Tom Brady take yet another L last night. Is Father Time victorious? Has the plague inflicted these two amazing, once in a lifetime generational quarterbacks? Are they too inflicted by this thing called Father Time?
I think Aaron Rodgers is he's affected by, I mean, he's been for years, it's crazy because he's been able to carry a team to 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 wins with not really a stellar, supporting cast. I just don't think they have it even further this year, and he's not able to carry them and whatever. And maybe he's, the infamous, quarterbacks falling off the cliff, right? Like that's always been a thing, and Brady has been able to, beat that out. Maybe Aaron Rodgers is kind of hitting that wall. Brady, that's been a question for the past 10 years, right? And he's overcome that. Obviously, he's going through a ton of personal life issues right now. I don't know how that's affecting him, but I could totally see him having a bad season and then coming back next year and winning a Super Bowl. Like I'm never gonna count Tom Brady out, and I'm never gonna say like Father Time is undefeated, but they're going into late rounds with Tom Brady. Like this is just continuing on. Aaron Rodgers, I think it's about that time where he's carried the team for too long, and he's just not, he's not getting the dividends that he needs, and they're pretty much, a done deal.
Let's say that you had that old that Wells Fargo money. They told Wells Fargo Wells Fargo told them to take the money out, and they said that they're gonna give it to you, and you can invest it. You got one bet to make. If you win the bet, they're gonna double up the money. But your only two options are: does Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers make it to the playoffs? Or does Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers make it to the playoffs? With this team, this season, this roster, which one you betting on? I'll start with you on that one, ETP. Who you going with? Tom Brady or Aaron Rodgers making it to the playoffs for all the marbles? If you win the bet, they double your money. If not, your bank account stays as is. Who you betting on?
So in the Tampa Bay, who's in the Tampa Bay division? It's
you got Carolina. You got they're the South. They're NFC South. You got Carolina. You got Atlanta,
New Orleans,
and New Orleans. Yes.
Yeah. So and then and in the NFC North, you've got Minnesota's playing really well.
And the Bears, Minnesota, and Detroit.
So because of Minnesota, I'm taking Tampa Bay easy.
You taking Tampa Bay easy?
Yeah.
Big Flow Show, same argument, and don't try to pick against Aaron Rodgers just because that means that the Bears gonna be home again. Who you taking, man? This is for all the marbles for real
Bears
money.
on the way back, man. I don't know, y'all gonna. You heard it here first. We coming back, baby. We just started off. We starting off. Yeah, I gotta go. I gotta go with Tom Brady and the Buccaneers. I think they'll be back. I'll be more. Aaron is just. Aaron kind of remind me of the Cowboys. You know what I mean? Like he just looks like he's supposed to do something, and then he just choke. Even when things start looking great, he'll just choke. Things go wrong. Aaron Rodgers ain't done nothing, man.
I'm going with the same.
He's benefited from a real bad division, is what he's benefited from. Because the Bears and Detroit are always bad. And
Tom Brady benefited from a bad division for years. They still.
But he won the Super Bowl, so you can't give him that because Aaron gets to the playoffs and don't do nothing because he's just been a bad division that's just been giving it to him. But Detroit and the Bears been so bad. Minnesota's not tough. You know what I mean? They're all right, but they're not tough. We don't have any powerhouses. So he just gets to the playoffs all the time and doesn't do anything. Tampa Bay, the Patriots, horrible division, worse than our division, but they still won the Super Bowl, so you can't say they're frauds.
Yeah, I'm going with the same bet only because Aaron Rodgers showed me last year never bet on Aaron Rodgers. I don't know how they lost that game against San Francisco, but indeed they did. Let's go home with this topic, man, because the plague that has baffled me, and unfortunately, I'm a part of it on a local level. But the plague that I want to address last, certainly not least, is the plague of politics. And the plague of politics, unfortunately, has inflicted the Brittney Griner situation. And the Russian courts have denied her appeal. And so her 9.5-year sentence has been upheld. The one bright spot is they did give her time served, so it's down to 8-something years. So time served did get subtracted from the 9.5 years. And the politics of it, and I know Russian officials have said they're willing to negotiate, but on the condition that it is done in silence. I know that President Biden has offered his support in ways that have not been extremely public because of the political nature of these negotiations. But the politics of this are just ugly. Russia wanted what essentially was a war crime person that was an arms trader across the world as the person to be traded for Brittney Griner. The more you find out about why she was in that airport on that day with those cartridges that now you find out she was prescribed to have, the more this just it pisses me off. And I know we've had some exchanges in our own on our own channel and our own group threads, but I just feel as though the politics requires, from a diplomacy standpoint, negotiation standpoint, one tactic. But in the same week that we're talking about some of the most polarizing figures, the plague that is Kanye, the ripple effect of the backlash of his statements, and how swift and powerful the response has been, it just pisses me off that Brittney Griner, a member of the LGBTQ community, her wife is still here, a woman of color, someone that by definition represents a lot of affinity groups. I just don't feel like there's enough uproar because not all of us are playing politics when discussing this. And I just think that especially in this season of politics, when there's a midterm election about to happen, I just think there should be more conversation around Brittney Griner. And I feel as though as a country we've accepted it, and that hurts to know that something so tragic could happen to one of our own. And I say one of our own, just an American, but I could go even deeper and say one of our own, a member of the LGBTQ community, a member of our own, a Black woman, a member of our own, a woman, a member of our own. The basketball community, I think, has been the most outspoken when it comes to Brittney Griner. This tragedy just keeps getting worse. And we'll end it there. I don't know if you guys wanted to add or discuss anything about it, but this plague of politics is pissing me off when it comes to this young lady being detained, or in this case, in prison. No longer detained, because they're going to be moving her now to some conditions-wise. Not this ain't Club Fed. This isn't a federal penitentiary in America. These are very, very, very tough conditions. It's starting to gnaw at me even more. So I wanted to make sure that we ended with free Brittney. Still got your back, Brittney Griner. You're still in our thoughts and our minds, still in our prayers. And I just wanted to end this episode of the plague with that plague, the politics and the nature of her still being there. We started the episode talking about that nursery rhyme, "Ring Around the Rosie," right? Pocket full of posy, ashes, ashes, we all fall down. And I never knew that this was about, that nursery rhyme was about a plague, but that we all fall down is this gloom and doom outlook that ultimately we all die. And this was all triggered by seeing these beautiful, beautiful leaves in New Jersey, knowing that they're all going to fall off of that tree. They're all going to be raked into some pile and turned into compost. And this episode of the plague, hope that you appreciated just how quickly things can change. Kanye West with a statement, a horrible statement, a foot in the mouth, and an offensive statement, but within a short amount of time, went from a billionaire to a millionaire, went from a genius in some people's eyes to an anti-Semitic fool within a very short amount of time. Not here to defend or explain or even discuss, but here to both observe and analyze just how quickly things can change. Just like the nursery rhyme, and that applies to this unfortunate plague that happened in Europe. the truth of the matter is, with cancel culture, with people having opinions, very quickly, a plague could turn your life around. So, with that, you know who it is. It's B Brown ESQ, aka the Ball, aka the Mouth of the South, aka Mr. Excessive Celebration, aka Breezy. Not here to judge, just to discuss. But here also to challenge you to do a few things that won't cost you much. Cost you maybe 5 seconds. Please like, please comment, please share this video. Tag a friend in the comments. You can even tag a foe. Hell, tag anybody that you know. And then subscribe to both our YouTube channel and to the podcast. This is the Ball Hog Sports Talk. This has been the episode entitled The Plague. You know what we do here. It's where sports, business, and entertainment collide. We do it one way and one way only, rough, rugged, and raw. This has been an amazing episode yet again on a Friday. We thank you for your support. We thank you in advance for liking, commenting, sharing, tagging people, and subscribing. And with that, we is out. Peace.